my plant died. I'm upset.
You seem so distressed by this plant.
I feel like I have to start all over again.
So you feel like you were making progress and now this feels like a setback.
I just feel like I want to give up.
Oh, you feel so discouraged. This is Improv in Real Life. I'm Jude Treder-Wolff. I've worked in mental health for 40 years, and in that time, the world has changed completely. Technology has transformed how we communicate, connect, even how we work. But in our relationships, change doesn't happen that fast. That's where improv comes in. Improvisers learn to create together without a plan, and they do that by learning a set of skills. Anyone can learn these skills, and they translate directly to life. In this podcast, we'll explore how improv can help us navigate the speed of life. And together, we'll explore how to face change with creativity, agility, and a sense of play. Many years ago, when I first moved to New York, I was getting over this dramatic love affair with this Australian guy that I'd gone to Australia to live with. And now I was in the final stages of really getting over it, totally armored up, totally defended. So, of course, ready to date. And I meet this guy at an arts and psychotherapy conference. Very funny. We have something in common because we both are at this conference. We also find out that we both also have in common a love of science fiction. And he says, hey, do you know about Forbidden Planet bookstore down in Union Square? Which I did not know. So he says, hey, meet me for lunch on a Saturday and we'll go to this bookstore, which we do. And it's very exciting. I've never been there. And then we think about another science fiction bookstore in the village, take a walk over there. And then the day becomes a day of going from bookstore to bookstore down in the village. And before I know it, it's 6:00 and we're talking about having dinner. And in the course of the day, I'm really so caught up in this energy that we're creating together of fun and interest and getting to know each other. And I don't want to be pulled into this. I don't need this in my life. And we're standing on Cornelia Street, which has a lot of trees, and the sun is going down. And there's that dappled look on the streets from the shade between the sunset and the trees. It's just beautiful. And we're both looking up. And he says, I want to remember this. And I say, me too. This really turned into a day I didn't expect at all. And he says, if I park here by 2:00 on a Friday afternoon, I can leave my car here until 9 a.m. on a Monday. I want to remember this. And I say, oh, I thought you were going to say something, I don't know, romantic. And he says, that is romantic. If I know that my car is safe and secure and I won't get a ticket, I can have fun. I'll be free. And I think, great. Now I want to have sex with him. And it begins this relationship that turned into now, I don't know, we're going on 40 years. So I think it's working out so far. We'll see. But there's a lot of understanding the way his mind works, the way my mind works, which are very different. And there's a lot of saying yes to each other in order to understand each other. That's made this a fun ride. And there are times we just have to work it out. I'll have my foot on the gas. He's still saying we have to check the brakes and take the car in. And that's how we make change in our relationship. But I appreciate the way he is and he appreciates the way I am. I like that. And it reminds me a lot of an improv team or even two people who are improvising together. Because life really is an improv when you think about it. You think you know where you're going, and then there's a curveball. And you have to be able to somehow stay on the same page. And when people invest in each other and really listen, it's like an improv team that's accepting each other's ideas and radically doubling down, agreeing, supporting each other in a radical acceptance kind of way. There's this energy that's created, a group mind that's created, that becomes very intuitive. The group begins to think of things at the same time. It'll happen, and it'll happen through practice. I call it the third thing. If it's two people are putting energy into this almost like an emotional or a psychological account, like a bank account. They're putting effort and thought and caring. And sometimes one person is stronger than the other and they're putting more into it, but it's something that both can draw on, a resource for the two of them. And improv really teaches us skills for doing that because that's how improv happens. You're creating in real time. You have to know a level of trust is developing between you and your fellow players. So that idea of improv being a relationship resource building tool or experience has been played out in my own life with somebody who thinks very differently about things, and we value that about each other. That's why I was so happy to have this conversation about improv and relationships, in fact, marriage, with the wonderful Rachel Rosenthal. She was in North Coast for years. It's hip hop improv. She's doing Shakespearean improv. She's done it all. You're going to love this conversation about love, relationships, and improv. I hope you enjoy.
This podcast is brought to you by LifeStage. LifeStage provides opportunities for people to gain skills and knowledge for navigating today's uncertain world. The capacity for creativity, connection to new ideas and other people, collaboration, and community building. For more information, visit lifestage.me.
My guest today is someone I saw on stage at the Pit in New York City. She was performing in North Coast hip hop improv. My mind was kind of blown by seeing hip hop improv. I'd seen musical improv, which was my first love. And then I saw this and this emotional force of hip hop improv led by, on this particular night and many nights, the fabulous Rachel Rosenthal.
Oh, that was so nice. I feel emotional. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. I know you've done so many things, and you'll have an opportunity to drop those into our conversation as we go forward. We're going to jump into our topic, though, because we want to cover this really interesting theme that Rachel came up with, which is how improv can help us be better partners in intimate relationships.
Yeah, I think this is going to be really fun to talk about how improv can help you in your personal relationships, specifically with like your primary person that you live with.
Well, I love this topic for a lot of reasons. As everybody knows, for 40 years, was a psychotherapist. I don't do as much of that anymore, but I certainly worked with a lot of people that didn't feel really accomplished or very, people get married and have friendships. Nobody trains you in how to do it. You just do the best you can based on your life experiences and then run into different kinds of trouble. And it was always helpful to have games and exercises that people could actually do in the room with me or with the person if they happen to be a couple. And as I got more training in improv, that became more and more of a fun approach to something that's actually pretty tough. And right after we decided on this as a topic, I was reading about something that I just wanted to share with everybody before we get into this, that one of the things that couples run into is not listening, right? And one of the reasons couples who are together a lot of the time or talk to each other so much of the time because they're a couple, one of the reasons that becomes complicated is that our brains actually tune out things that we hear a lot of the time. Things that are very familiar, our brains will kind of neutralize it a little bit, like, oh, that's not that interesting, or I don't need to know that. That's okay, that's safe. And that can make someone in a couple feel not heard. And in fact, they aren't being heard, but it isn't personal. It's actually just the way our brains work. So what's fun about improv is that it can bring in a little bit of novelty to conversations. So I just wondered about your thoughts about that and about the idea of how things go south with couples that we might use improv to bring north.
Well, I should say I am not an expert. I do not have 40 years of psychotherapy experience like you do, but I am part of a couple. I am a part of a married couple, and I do perform and podcast with my husband, Sam. And I'm the daughter of a therapist, and I believe in therapy very much. But what you just said, it made me really think initially of like, hey, we should put a class together for couples. Just couples improvising together, taking a class together has so many benefits, not just in some of the stuff we're going to get into, but like even just the idea of infusing play again into long-term relationships, I think is really interesting. There's so much that you do play-wise when you're first dating someone or first meeting someone with all you plan a really exciting date. I honestly think my husband and I are pretty good at that still, but you got to work at that, like, oh, what if we do something extra exciting tonight versus just sitting on the couch and watching Survivor, which is also an option. But
And also an awesome option, by the way. Yes, go ahead.
Are you a Survivor fan?
Well, I have to be fully honest. I'm not truly a Survivor fan, but
Yeah.
I am a fan of watching stuff obsessively. I will obsessively watch a lot of stuff, and I love doing it with my husband. So,
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Also fun and also
Yeah.
a nice tradition. But yeah. Yeah, I think you're so right that like there's something about being with someone and spending a lot of time with them. And it doesn't just have to be a romantic partner, it could be a parent or whomever, where you, conscious or otherwise, tune them out because like you've spoken to them so many times and you've been around them and you've heard their stories. And it is maybe inevitable, but also really sad because clearly there's a reason that you've chosen to spend so much time with this person. And it's because you did find them interesting and like what they had to say valuable at some point. And so, yeah, I think it's really cool to kind of look at that through the lens of improv and how we can improve our listening and want to be around our partners in that way. Yeah.
Well, yes. And I'm going to make a short little yes and to what you just said. And then we're going to do an exercise that I think kind of speaks to this idea
Yeah.
of how we listen to each other, that it is a little sad. I agree with you. And the reason it gets sad is because people feel hurt if they aren't noticed. Often couples will say something like, I suggested 20 times that he wear blue. And then our best friend said he should wear blue. And he was like, you're right, I should. And why does it mean something if someone else says it right rather than our partner? And I actually think that there's something about, and I've researched this quite a bit, about how our brains deal with novelty versus things that are familiar. And when we feel safe, our defenses are down, but we could also feel so safe that that's where the sad part comes in, that it's not exciting anymore.
Yeah, and also I would say we kind of have default, all of us as human beings have like default behavior, right? That's why people say active listening, because it's like your default might not be to really actively listen. You kind of default to what you're used to doing. And I feel like when we are with the people that we know the best, that's when we really default to like our usual behavior. And so you have to work extra hard to yes and that person, or whatever the case may be, actively listen to that person. Maybe then compare it to someone that you're meeting for the first time, you maybe wouldn't have to work as hard on that, you know?
Well, right. And it's like, thank God we have that safety and that familiarity. It's so wonderful to have the intimacy
Yeah.
with somebody where you can just not, have to impress them and all of that. At the same time, if we put in a little bit of creative effort, it can make that same safe relationship maybe a little spicier.
Yeah.
But certainly deal with some of the misunderstandings that naturally happen in families. And like you said, it could be parents, it could be siblings, people that you talk to a lot of the time. It feels like we're taking them for granted when actually, well, maybe we are, but this is about putting a little bit more effort into the interaction.
Yeah. And I think one of the reasons we thought of this topic is because I've taught so many improv workshops to non-improvisers. I've taught a lot of improv workshops to executives and tech people, programmers, sales people, advertising, all these different industries. And I cannot tell you how many times I will do a lesson and then someone in the room will say, wow, I should really do that with my wife. Or like, wow, I should really do that with my spouse. And that's kind of what made me think of like, yeah, you should. These are tools that can help us all wherever. It doesn't have to be targeted to just your workplace or one mode.
That's a great insight that people take this and go, yes, this applies outside of here. This applies in my work is real life, but home is where we tend to let those defenses go down and then maybe not our shiniest effort putting into it. So what do you want to play with today? What do you want to do?
Yeah, so I want to start. It's going to be really interesting, by the way, for me to both lead this and participate in it.
Yes, I'm sure it will be.
Usually I'm the fly on the wall, but it's fun to participate as well. So what you and I are going to do, I have my handy timer in front of me. And our job is to work together, and we are going to plan a party together, let's say. You could plan anything if you're doing this. You could plan a vacation, whatever you want. Let's plan a party, and we're going to take 1:30 to plan this party. And in this 1:30, our goal is actually pretty hefty. We want to find out what is the theme of our party, right? Is it a July 4th party? Is it a Halloween? Is it an anniversary? What's the theme? What are we wearing that's on theme? What are we serving on theme? Food and drink. Who's invited, where, and when. All right. So it's kind of a lot of things that we have a lot of goals here with our party. And you and I are going to plan this together just by taking turns speaking back and forth, adding ideas. And the only caveat is in between each one of our thoughts, the person is going to start their next phrase with yes, but, and just see how that goes. All right. We're each going to say yes, but, and try to get through all of those items to plan our party. All right, I'll set my timer and go for it.
Well, I really am excited about the 4th of July barbecue, backyard barbecue.
Yes, but to be honest, so many people are like down about the United States right now that I'm like, okay, maybe we don't July 4th it. Maybe the theme is just barbecue.
Yes, but if you just do a barbecue, then we aren't necessarily going to be able to wear our outfits, our red, white, and blue top.
Right, yes. But perhaps we could wear something else. Maybe it's like maybe we all dress as our favorite piece of meat.
Yes, but what about our vegan friends? Our vegan friends are going to feel so left out if we dress as meat.
Oh my God, you're so right. Yes, but perhaps we don't dress as meat. Maybe because it's a barbecue themed party, we dress in whatever we can get a mess, like messy clothes, you know?
Yes, but my mom is going to be there and she's going to say, you cannot show up like that.
Yes, but maybe mom won't be invited.
Yes, but if mom isn't invited, I will never hear the end of it.
All right, the timer has gone off. Jude, thank you so much for trying to plan a party with me in a minute and a half. The first thing I like to do when I am running this exercise with a group is just start by saying, tell me about your party.
Yeah, I would say our party is basically not yet planned at all.
Sure.
It's sort of hit a wall of conflicting ideas.
Okay. Well, did we get anything planned? Do we know what we're serving or what the theme is?
We have a possible theme of wearing wearing clothes that are representative of food.
Yeah, it sounds like our theme of our party is barbecue in general. Like it seems like we got that accomplished at least. We have a slight theme for our party. So 3 cheers to us. We did accomplish that. Anything else that we learned about our party? Anything else that feels exciting?
Maybe that my mom isn't gonna enjoy it or be present.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing and what I shared with you is that we maybe didn't get like the most accomplished, which let's be honest, that's not surprising. I gave us a really hard challenge of using yes, but, which we all know is kind of like a blocking word, but we did get a little bit done and that's good. We got a theme at least. We don't know like who's invited, what we're eating, all the details, but my other question is, how did this conversation feel? And you sort of started to mention a little bit, but yeah, what was brought up for you emotionally sort of in this conversation? Did it feel easy? Did it feel fun? Did it feel hard?
It felt fun because it was funny. It was just funny to me, like what we, just if having to butt it was hilarious to me. If I was actually trying to have a party, plan a party, doing it, I think I would feel frustrated. That we're just thinking about what's wrong with the idea. That we're just coming up with what's wrong with that idea rather than anything else. That's the first go-to is like, what's wrong with that idea? So that could get a little, it's not as fun. Yeah.
Sounds like you've maybe done this before. Well done. Moi? But yeah, I think that's a really good point. We definitely presented a lot of problems in a minute and a half, which is such a bummer because it's like, we have a minute and a half. We can dream. By the way, these are imaginary parties, right? This party could take place on the moon if we wanted. And we already brought up all these problems of outfits and vegans and our moms. And it's like, why are we presenting so much problems? And like you said, what's wrong and what's difficult when it's like, this is just imagination time, right? And you also mentioned the feeling of being frustrated. So again, my fault because I made us do yes, but. So what I would love to do is just try this again. We'll give ourselves another minute 30. I'll put on my trusty timer. And our goal remains the same. This is an imaginary party, by the way. What kind of party? So what's the theme? What are we going to wear that's on theme? What are we serving? Food and drink. Who's invited? Where and when? Lots of bullet points there. But this time, in between each person's thought, we are going to add yes and. And feel free to also use other versions of that, right? Absolutely. And I love that. And whatever you think works in that yes part. But the and is super important. So we don't want to forget that. And let's just see how far we get in our party planning process.
Okay.
All right. Ready, go.
I got us matching blue sweaters to wear to Mom's 80th birthday party.
Yes. And oh my gosh, Mom's 80th birthday party is going to be amazing. I actually think since it's her favorite color, everyone should wear blue. And we should serve blue foods. Okay. So what do you think
Absolutely.
about that?
Yes, absolutely. And if they are like blueberries, I think we should have blue decorations as well.
Yes, yes. And I have some leftover Hanukkah decorations. Perhaps we could put up some streamers, some blue streamers. And maybe let's invite the entire family and also like her coworkers.
I love it. I love it. Everybody who's ever worked with her is going to come. And I think everybody should give a little bit of a testimonial.
Yes, I love that. Everyone can kind of share like a story about her, a shared memory or something like that. We should do this at a restaurant that has like a microphone and like a stage area just to give enough space.
100%. Where people can feel that they have their moment to honor her, and we should have she loves pizza.
All right, time is up. Time is up. All right. Well done, my friends. Jude, tell me about your party.
It's going to be at a restaurant. People are going to wear blue. It has a theme.
Ooh, what's the theme?
The theme of honoring this woman, right?
Yes,
and
80th birthday.
80th birthday, and that she loves blue. And we got a lot of details there.
Yeah, we definitely seem to get a lot more accomplished this round, which again, probably obvious given the difference of the and versus the but. One of the things I do want to say is that we got a lot more accomplished, but guess what? I actually gave us less time. I tricked us and I put less time on the timer. We only had about a minute 20. We had 10 seconds less and we accomplished so much more. So well done us. How did that version feel different from the previous version? What do you think?
To me, it flowed. So the feeling of flow for me is a very important feeling as an artist, as a entertainer person, as a writer, and a person who struggles with the ism of control and perfectionism, control over my own output, and constant sort of negativity toward myself that gets going. Flow is a wonderful feeling. So when I'm in it, I'm very aware of it.
One thing I noticed we did, which wasn't even part of it, was there were a couple times where we used a piece of the previous person's idea and then added that. You said we should wear blue, and then I said, I don't know, I repeated the blue in some way, like, yes, blue is her favorite color. Everyone can wear blue, something like that. So it's like we were creating more ideas using pieces of the previous person's idea, which is kind of nice. One of the reasons I like to do this exercise is because I think we focus a lot improv-wise on what did we accomplish, right? Like that first part of it of like, did we get the party planned? But I think there's a lot to the second part of just like, how did the yes and make us feel? It felt to me like we collaborated, like we actually planned it together. It wasn't one person's idea. And there were so many less problems, which felt really like a relief because the first one we did mention it felt frustrating. We constantly brought up what was wrong. We didn't do that at all in the second round. And that feels nice.
It does feel nice. And it is something that can happen in real meetings with people and in
Yeah.
real relationships. And it does take practice. It takes,
Yeah.
I think, making a choice to listen and say, how might this work?
Yeah. And there's
Uh,
like a couple of things in that way where it's like, to me, sometimes the feedback you get is you can't always say yes and because something's not viable or whatever the case may be. And to me, it's more the idea of yes and. It's not like literally saying those words necessarily, but it's like, we want to be around people that make us feel the way we felt in the second round, right? So why do we sometimes not choose to do that with the people that we love the most, right? Why do we yes but them? Why do we shut their ideas down? And I think one way that we can maybe think about it is to separate what is a good idea from a bad idea and just let's just ideate. You want to bounce your ideas off me? I'm here to be a sounding board versus constantly providing my opinion on each of those ideas when someone's not necessarily asking for that.
exactly. So I want to share a little bit about my husband and me because we
Yeah.
are this couple that I just want to explain this. So he's the opposite of me in a certain way when it comes to new things. So when it comes to change, I am the accelerator and he's the brakes. So I'm saying, let's do 5 things in one day. And he's saying, I don't really want to do anything on this day, for example. And I always say, I'm a person who says, let's try the road less traveled. And he'll say, there's a reason no one's going down that road.
I love that.
And it's here we come together, these two opposite people, and we make this life together. And I just had this conversation with him recently where there was something that came up and I said, I want to do this. And I actually need you to know but me because I know his first thing is going to be all the reasons that it won't work.
Right.
And my accelerator is going to be all the reasons we should push through every single hurdle. And neither one of us are correct. The real road is somewhere in the middle of a new idea that actually does have some problems with it, some
Yes.
obstacles.
Yes. And yeah. Mhm.
And I know that he's going to think of them. And I know that the impulsive me is going to not love that and say, you're slowing me down. And at the same time, our relationship has been so beneficial for me because it kept me from sort of leaping into things before I was ready. And it also, for him, it propels him into things he might not otherwise have done.
You said something that I can't pass by. So basically, what you said was you came with one idea, he came with another, and the truth is, it's somewhere in the middle. It's some combination. And what I love about that is that ideas inspire ideas, right? The more that we can fill the basket with that the more ideas we have to choose from, right?
Yes.
So when leading an exercise like this, the first round, we are like, hey, let's have a July 4th party. That's one idea in the basket, right? But then the next person's like, well, people aren't feeling very patriotic. Okay, the basket's empty again. What if we do a barbecue project or barbecue party, right? That one idea in the basket. And then we take it out again. What about the vegans? So at the end of that, the basket is empty. And how are we supposed to be inspired by the previous ideas if the basket has no ideas in it? So I love that you said that because it's like, if we both allow things to get heard, then one thing's going to bounce and be like, oh, that makes me think of this. That makes me think of this. And then we finally settle on our 80th birthday where we're all dressed in blue.
Well, right. And the reason I was thinking about my husband and me is that we sometimes, I think in improv, when I was sort of yes-anding your idea about people will say, well, I shouldn't say yes to things that I don't agree with or that aren't a good idea, or they're crazy ideas.
Yeah.
But it's the spirit of knowing that I'm making a contribution and so is the person who's coming up with the obstacles. So the idea is like, I have to yes-and his concerns. As much as he might come up with concerns instead of feeling like he's throwing cold water on my ideas. And so both things are viable. But I think with this, the exercise is about honoring everybody's ideas. Like you said, the more ideas you have, the more things you have to choose from and play with. And it's the spirit of it. That's the thing that makes a relationship soar.
I love that phrasing, the spirit of making a contribution. I wrote that down, Jude. I'm going to use that. Two things. One is you made me think of when I first met my husband, one of the things I really liked about him is that he made me feel heard by simply using the word absolutely. He would just use that word a lot. So we would just be having a conversation and he'd go, absolutely. And I was like, I feel like really heard, you know? It's like a really strong yes that creates like just a positive feeling, just a reinforcing feeling. The other thing I wanted to ask or pose, I suppose, is like, are you normally, without working on it, a yes but person? Or do you know a yes but person in your life that you can think of? Sounds
Well,
like potentially your
I
husband.
tend to be, I have learned, so this is the thing about the yes and yes but that is nuanced for me, but I think it's useful to talk about for other people to think about. I was a yes and person. I lead with that. And sometimes I would lead with that without being discerning. I mean, in my life, not in
Yeah.
improv, it's different. I mean, in improv, it's a great spirit to have that enthusiasm, try things, and then
Yeah.
just see how it goes and be expanded by that. In real life, I didn't often see the but. And I think that's one of the reasons I was attracted to my husband, who is very supportive and very stable. So his stability is the thing that I would find consoling and comforting, but also be like, oh, but I don't want to be constrained by it.
Right, right.
But in reality, it's not a but, it is its own, it's a set of values that you have.
Right,
Like, I want to
right.
push forward and he wants to be safe and stable. And those are legitimate concerns. But I've been in so many meetings where the yes, but person just shuts. I'm not thinking
Yeah.
about personal relationships so
Right.
much. I tend to hang out with people that balance me out. So they're not,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that they're yes, but they're people who have concerns that don't occur to me.
Right. Well, I think that some people's default, and there's nothing wrong with this, some people's default is to poke holes, right? And I think for anyone listening to this right now, I feel like it's nice to just ask yourself, am I by default, my default behavior, am I a yes but person? There's nothing wrong with it. I actually think myself personally, like I often say yes but because like I think I have a better idea or I want to be heard. And I have to consciously sometimes ask myself, why am I saying yes, but? Like, what is it that I'm trying to get out of it? And is that what the other person is asking for? Is this conversation to benefit me or is it to benefit them or is this shared? I can say I have plenty of yes, but people in my life. One is my mom. She might be listening to this. Who knows? Probably not. But like, she does not realize that she says yes, but. Personally, it's very frustrating because it feels like she's always against me, like always devil's advocating whatever I'm saying, even though she doesn't realize she's doing it. So I think if that is her default behavior, or if that is your default behavior, how can you just become mindful of it? It's just something to ponder.
It is definitely something to ponder, and it's something that comes up in a lot of processing. For me, when I run improv groups with people, there's people who happen to be therapists that tend to take improv with me, and then in those groups, we do more personal processing, even though it's not a therapy group, but it kind of turns into that in some way.
Yeah.
And the tendency to overthink the yes, to overthink, well, what am I saying yes to want to understand it before I say yes to it, shows up in a lot of people's lives. And I mean, maybe your mom, I can't speak for your mom, but the many, many people that I've talked to over the years who default to that, it's safety. It's worried about, it's fear. And I'm the opposite. I didn't think enough about things that could go wrong. And so I have learned to I think that's why I married somebody who's got good breaks.
I mean, you do need breaks. Sometimes you need breaks. They can save your life.
We do need breaks. And also we need acceleration. So the thing about intimacy is understanding our own self. And I think improv can be a way of saying, well, what is my what's my go-to? Why is that the thing that I like? And why is it so uncomfortable to shift into maybe what my partner would prefer or to meet them halfway?
Yeah. I love that. Well, do you want to do another exercise?
Of course I do.
Yes, and absolutely.
Yes, and I'm ready.
Okay, great. So, all right. I call these fixing scenes or empathy scenes. But what we're going to do, I think I'm going to start actually. We have two people. I'll start. My job is going to be to emote, basically, to feel my feelings about a problem in my life, real or fictional. And your job to start is to just notice and mark my emotion. You seem, right, is good language for that. And as we continue our improvised conversation, your job is going to try to empathize versus fix or change my emotion. So that's what we're going to try and do just for like 2 minutes or so. Does that sound good?
Yes.
All right, awesome. All right, I'll start. I am so upset because my plant died. My dog's tail hit my plant and it fell, a big chunk of it fell on the ground and now it's dying. And I'm upset.
Oh, you seem really, well, you said upset, and you seem
Yeah.
so distressed by
Yeah.
by this plant.
Yeah, and I know it's like it's just a plant, but it's like I finally feel like I understand how to make something grow, like after killing so many plants, and I finally had one, and now I feel like I have to start all over again. It's just so
Oh,
frustrating.
yeah, like, so you feel like you were making progress with growing things, and now this feels like a setback.
Yeah, I'm just like so I just feel like I don't even want to. I just feel like I want to give up. I don't want to do another. It just takes so long to like start and grow it and everything. If it's just gonna die, I'm like, why even start again?
Oh, you feel so discouraged.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I don't. It's like maybe I should just get fake plants. They're not gonna die.
Uh, well, you really are discouraged
Yeah.
of trying a new plant that would
Yeah.
actually like have like a real one.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. All right, we'll stop there. You're so good at that. How was that hard for you? How was that experience for you? Did you feel at ease doing that, or were there times where in your head you wanted to say one thing and you had to switch it to something else? I'm curious about how that experience was.
Well, I think because I am a therapist, it probably came, that one feels very natural for me to identify what the underlying feeling might be.
Yeah,
My
you're good at
tendency
that.
would be to want to say something that was funny. But I avoided that. Tried to be authentic. So my struggle was more like, instead of just being funny, not that I can remember any single funny thing I thought to say, but I had to push aside any impulse like that and just be sincere and authentic.
Yeah, yeah. That's amazing. I think what you just did is actually it's so incredibly hard for so many people who probably don't have your training. Because I think sometimes when someone is posed with, I feel bad, a lot of times people go into problem solver mode, where they're like, I will make you feel glad,
Right.
or you're sad, I will make you feel happy. And they try to change your emotion or fix your emotion.
Yeah. Or fix your problem. Like I
Or
could,
fix the
if I had
problem.
said, oh, yeah, you should rein your dog's tail in. Like, why don't you,
Yeah.
tie your dog's tail to his legs? You should abuse your dog.
Jude.
No, I'm sorry. That's not going out into the world. I would never say something like that. But anyway.
Keep it in. Keep it in and let it.
Well, can I just jump in? Because actually, when you guys were doing that exercise, I was like wanting Jude to say, no, go get a new plant. It was
Yeah.
really hard for me to not. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm that person who's got to fix the problem. Don't have the bad feeling. So
No,
I just
Natalie,
wanted
that
to
is
jump in.
so no, that is so helpful. You're leaving this in the edit because I think that is so true. Like it's just human nature to be like, oh wait, how can I help you? And sometimes helping is just empathizing and existing and not being like, let's fix this.
Yeah, I was just really struck at how, oh, that's the point of the exercise. And I'm so uncomfortable with it just living there, like with Jude just supporting you. It was really
Yeah.
interesting. So I just wanted to chime in with
Oh,
that.
I'm really glad you shared that. Well, and just in terms of improv itself and then applying this out into the world, this is a real improv dilemma, is that people will get into scenes and somebody will say, oh, my hat flew away. And the scene partner says, well, I'll go buy you a new one. And then we go buy a new hat. And the scene isn't really about anything except fixing a problem. And when I'll say to people, what if you didn't go buy her a new hat? What if you actually said, something really selfish, It was not even a great hat. That wasn't a good hat anyway. And now maybe you have a dynamic between the two people that's more fun to play with, but
Yeah.
it's more well, that's more for improv's sake.
No, but yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
Because if we don't fix, and if let's say you don't even empathize, but you don't fix, but you have your own point of view. Like that's another way to do that same scene, I guess. This scene was about you and your need and want, your concern.
Yeah, I think there's so many things we can pull from this. So I think as an improv teacher for performers, when I experience my students doing a scene like you just said, I lost my hat. Here, let me buy you a new one. We fixed the problem. And what the scene becomes about is how to fix it. And what I like to talk about is instead of how, why? Instead of how to fix this, how to do this, why does this matter? Why is this important to this person? It's generally just something emotional, right? This hat was gifted to me by a friend and I've lost touch with them. That's why this matters. And so a lot of times it's not about the solution. It's just about the emotional understanding,
Well, exactly. And I'm really glad you laid that out. What I was remembering is working with people, even in therapy sessions where we weren't doing necessarily an empathy exercise, but more like, what's your impulse? The tension of someone suffering or the tension of someone being sad or grieving or feeling inadequate or any of the things that people might talk to their partner about. That tension can be so unbearable for the other person. But it is a great act of love to tolerate that tension and let that other person be supported in the way that whatever they're going through. And so there is a real value in being able to just be with it and not try to fix it. So sometimes when we're just doing improv for improv's sake, a lot of times a therapist will say, I was sitting with my client and I remembered the scene that we did yesterday where you were not allowed to fix the problem. In fact, you had to just listen, maybe not even empathize, maybe just have your own selfish need in that moment and think differently in that moment. And they felt more restrained in their sessions from fixing and letting the person have their discomfort, because people need to be able to feel like it's okay for me to be uncomfortable with you and suffer a little bit and that you won't abandon me or feel like it's too much for you.
Yeah. And I don't want to gender this, but at the same time, I see so much Instagram content around women wanting to feel their feelings, apparently, and potentially men, again, I don't want to gender it, but, wanting to solve. And it's not binary at all, but like, sometimes people don't want a problem solver. They just want to, and I'm from a family of problem solvers. Everyone's like, let's fix this, And sometimes I'm like, can't I just cry? Like, can't I just have a bad day? And that is okay too.
The thing is, it is very hard for people that are close with each other to let that be part of it, to let your sadness be part of the day. Is sometimes, again, it makes people hide their feelings.
Yeah. I created this exercise initially for a negotiations class at Columbia Law. And one of my improv students from the pit from many, like 10 years ago or something, he is a teacher of advanced negotiations at Columbia Law. And I would do these improv exercises with his students. And in negotiating, you can't always agree on the outcome, but you do have to understand the other person's side, right? And I think the same goes for negotiating a personal relationship where you don't necessarily have to agree, but it is very helpful to understand.
It's very helpful to understand. And it's helpful for many reasons. One, there's going to be a flow of energy between you and that other person, just like there was between you and I when we were yes-anding in that game, or you were presenting a problem and I'm not trying to fix it, but that invites the person who's got a problem to say more, to tell me more. It's okay. I can handle it. In fact, I'm fine with it. And so I'm just using myself and my husband because we have so many years of different kinds of things that we've experienced together, where my approach would be to rush in with action, and his is very measured and calculated and planned and documented. And
I think I'm your husband.
Well, I value that in a person so much because that isn't me, right? So if I personalized it and felt like him being that way somehow is putting me down, if I internalize that, like, oh, you need to do it this way, therefore I feel less than, we would have a problem. But in fact, I can say, and I learned this early on in our relationship, that that is something I need in my life. And he benefits from, well, he has to speak for himself. I'll speak for him right now. So he benefits from whatever he benefits from my side of things. But that I come up with a bunch of ideas, and then he's a really, really good administrator, and it's solid, and it's something that can last and endure, where my ideas might burn out because there wouldn't be enough of a foundation under them from my style of doing things. So in working with couples, but I think that improv is I've definitely heard people say this in classes that I'm working with, where you have to listen to the other person's idea and you have to absorb it and build on it. And you teach yourself to listen and value the other person's contribution, then take that home and go, yeah, that person's contributing something to me. They're not taking anything away from me by having their own approach or their own personality. And we can be a lot less defensive, is my long version of leading up to. We could be a lot less defensive about whatever it is our style happens to be.
Yeah, well, you sound like a really good partner. This is making me think about just like all these ways that I don't know, at least I feel like I treat, kind of going back to what we were talking about in the very beginning of this conversation, of how we treat most people versus how we treat our primary partner, like the person we spend the most time with, you know? And I was just thinking about how when your primary partner is just talking about something that they're complaining about or they're interested in, a lot of times you're like, yeah, I know. Yeah, I've heard this a million times, right? And my husband can talk for so long about the intricacies of a board game that he just played that I don't understand anything about, right?
So I think I'm your husband.
Yeah. See, it's not gendered. I take it back. Yeah. So, but like after I've heard him talk about, he'll be talking about this board game Root. He played it last night. It is this very complex game. I know how to reference it because I've heard him talk about it so much, but I don't know how to really play it myself. Or he can do the same thing with music. He can just go down a rabbit hole. He'll be like, do you hear how the bass on this sound is more plunky and the bass on this sound is more tinny? And I'm like, no. But anyway, but I think that like the way that we listen to like benefit our partner and our relationships is to say something like, sounds like you're really excited about this, right? Sounds like I'm hearing like you had a really fun time. Tell me more, right? To just allow them to talk about their thing. And your job isn't really to necessarily love it too or relate to everything. It's like to just be a sounding board, you know?
No, there's no way you're going to love something. Like my husband has to listen to me I tell stories in shows all the time. And I'll say, I have another version of the story. Could you mind? Do you have a clear head right now? Are you able to listen? And I'm asking, but I'm actually making a demand. I will be quite honest. I'm asking, but I'm actually saying, I really need your ears right now. And if he doesn't have the right look on his face, I might get mad and be like, well, I thought you said you could listen right now. And he has to have the right look on his face. So it depends how vulnerable I am.
Oh, you just made me think of something else. Oh my gosh, relationships. They are just complex pretzels, huh, people? I think that one thing, so I haven't been married as long as you have. My husband and I have been married 6 years, together 9 years. But we are, in a lot of ways, very similar. We're like the same people and we have the same brain. And because of that, I'll just see a look on his face, or he does this to me as well. We do it to each other, where we don't even let them feel their feelings or say out loud what they want to say because I'm already predicting, oh, I know what you're going to say is this, right? Or you currently feel this, right? And he does the same to me. And it's because we know each other so intimately. And there's something really beautiful about that. But there's also something really important about allowing someone to like share when they want to share and not when they don't want to. Because sometimes you just have to be in the right mood in the right moment.
Oh, yes. And I have to we'll have to clarify and say, and I'm much more the talker than I'm the one that goes on a list of things and down the rabbit hole of things. And he's the quieter one of the two of us. But the similar thing is that I'll say, you have that look on your face where you think you know what I'm going to say, but I don't think you actually do know what I'm going to say. And then sometimes he actually does know. But it's this nuance of intimacy, of closeness.
Yeah.
You guys have that. I understand it's a beautiful thing that we could have that attunement with somebody. And it can also be a beautiful thing to just be able to be heard as if they are hearing it for the first time.
Right, right. And, there's so many things that you have to pretend you're hearing for the first time when you're with someone for a long time or spending time with your mom, right? Like whoever it is, that's just part of having a long time relationship with another human being.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's that, it's safe and it's familiar and so it could be, people could interpret that as boredom, and there's a fun, it does take some effort to put a little fun into it and say, I'm going to see this as interesting.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's you and you are my person and you are interesting to me.
Yeah.
And the message out to everybody listening, if this is, I don't even know what.
I think it's like, I think the message, because we're about to solve the world.
Thank
The
God.
message, this is a big thing that's on our shoulders and we're about to do it. The message is treat your primary partner, romantic partner, spouse, whatever the case may be, and yourself like you would your best friend, and just do that for a day and see how it feels and what are the benefits that come from it.
Rachel, you just solved it.
I solved it. You're welcome.
You
America.
solved it. I'm so glad. Rachel, that is exactly what, and as we close off our conversation, let's say improv training is a way to get more comfortable with that kind of relationship with yourself, because
Absolutely.
you'll be more spontaneous, you'll be more confident and be able to follow your own creative impulses and let them just have their own life. It will happen. It'll happen because everyone will support you in it. And you'll be like,
Yeah.
you know what? I do have some pretty darn good ideas.
Yeah, I can't imagine who I would be without improv. I've been doing improv since I was 11 years old, and
What?
it is such a part of who I am, and yet I still feel like I have so much to work on with applying it to my life. So it's just, it's such an invaluable tool.
I can't imagine what I would be without it either. And I've had every kind of therapy there is. I've done it all, either training in it or doing it for my own healing.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly do feel like improv training and the skills that you get from doing this as an experience with other people, creating something in real time, following a certain set of structures and rules so that you can create something that you don't know what's going to happen, prepares you for life in a way that is beautiful and fun.
Yeah.
And that is you, Rachel Rosenthal. You are both
stop it.
beautiful and fun. And I loved our conversation so much. So, Rachel, how can people find you and what do you want to talk about of your work that you would like people to know about?
Well, I'm currently performing regularly in Portland, Oregon, since I've moved here from New York. And my performer website is theraroshow.com. And one of the biggest shows that I do here in Portland is called Love Shakespeare. And it's an improvised Elizabethan comedy. We do it pretty much monthly, but the dates and locations vary. But the shows are so much fun and just like one of the greatest experiences. I mean, I told you that I used to do hip hop improv. And when I moved here, I was like, all right, what's the next challenge? And to me, Shakespeare improv is it. And it's been amazing. So go to loveshakespearepdx.com to check out Love Shakespeare. And the other show I work on here and direct is Cliffbanger, which is a musical improv team. So cliffbangerpdx.com.
Wonderful. And so are you teaching or do you?
Yeah.
Okay. So people can find that on your website, I guess.
Yes, I teach improv to performers and to businesses and human beings at theraroshow.com. And then I teach musical improv and other kinds of improv at Kickstand Comedy here in Portland.
You were a delight. Thank you so much for being here today, Rachel.
Thank you so much. This was truly such a highlight of my day, no joke. And I think we could talk about this topic for like 5 more episodes. It was so great.
So great.
That's it for this episode of Improv in Real Life. For more info about our guest and other resources, you can visit our show notes. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please follow or subscribe wherever you listen. And if you're feeling extra generous, write us a review or share with a friend. You can also find us on Instagram at lifestage_inc. And if you want to dive deeper into these concepts, please connect with me on Substack at Jude Treder-Wolff. To be continued, to be continued, to be continued. We need each other now more than ever. We need creativity more than ever. I hope these games and ideas inspire you in some way, and if they do, keep it going. I will too. See you next time.